Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Pro Football Net Point Power Rankings and the Pro Football Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson, your co-host. Yeah, it's the off season, but guess what? The combine's over. Free agency is in full effect, and the draft is right around the corner. Let's go. Let's talk about it.
Where do you start? That is the question. Where do you start? I mean, there's so much going on, but where we're going to start at, Benny, is our Facebook page. So we're going to go to our Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page, and you can find us there on Facebook at BNBOF, at BNBOF, to get to the page, because this is where we try to find the nitty-gritty information that you need, and we put it on the page so that you can get to it and gather your own information. So we started out, we're starting out here with just a link that's going to give you a summary of the NFL Combine, the NFL franchise tags, NFL free agency. So this is all kind of summarized right here, but we're going to talk a little more specific. So let's get down to some of these signings. Ben, this is the one I'm like, holy mackerel. Khalil Mack on the other side of Joey Bosa.
Nice.
Now, Khalil Mack, we talked a little bit about Khalil Mack and his ability to handle the run, and we've seen him disappear a few times. But if he's got Joey Bosa on the other side, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great move for the Chargers. If there was something that they were lacking defensively, and it was more than one thing, but they surely felt like they needed to shore up their pass rush a bit. And this is a pretty big move to do that. Him on the other side of Joey Bosa is pretty big. They've got a real good defensive tackle. His name escapes me at the moment. That definitely makes their pass rush better. And let's remember, we're talking about the AFC West. You've heard me say a million times, one of the toughest divisions in the NFL is the NFC West. Well, the AFC West is right up there, most notably because of the quarterbacks in that division. And now Russell Wilson's there also. So, yeah, you better get your pass rush together because you got a bunch of really good quarterbacks. And other than Russell Wilson, they're all young.
Okay. All right. That was last week's show. We had a good show last week, Benny. You know?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I thought
There's
so
a picture
too.
of me drinking.
And let's just talk about the Colin Kaepernick situation. Actually, hold on a second.
Do we have to? Is there a situation? This may be news to me.
All right, Benny, so I want to just kind of kick this thing off with the Colin Kaepernick situation here. And, you know, Stephen A. Smith weighed in pretty heavily, and I didn't see him get a lot of pushback on his show. Basically, he said there was no way Colin Kaepernick returns to the NFL. He should have been in the league years ago, and we all agreed with that. And I also, to be quite honest, agreed. I don't think he's going to get that chance. But if there was ever a year that he could potentially get it, probably it would be this year, because there are needs at quarterback across the league, and nobody's really super excited about the quarterbacks coming out of college. Apparently, he had a good workout with a professional receiver from the Seahawks, and he looked strong. He looked like he could throw the ball, and, you know, I think that he probably could play. The challenge is always dealing with Kaepernick and in his head, because he wanted to make demands like, I want to be a starter, or a starter or nothing. And you and I had talked about whether he really wanted to play football. And I had said, if he wanted to play football, he could have went to Canada. and played and just showed out and had everybody going, what the heck are we doing? What, not signing this guy. But that was a big question. Was his head really in football, or was he into activism to the point that it would be a distraction or a detraction from his ability to concentrate on the game and the sport as would be necessary for the kind of money that they're paying these guys? So I kind of agree with Stephen A. I'm a bit confused that Kaepernick is still, doing this, out there doing workouts and things of that nature, because I really thought he had moved on. What do you think about that?
Well, I kind of thought he had moved on also. I had no idea that he was actually trying to have workouts where people actually come and see him and report back to whoever. Working out on your own to stay in shape, or just going out and grabbing a receiver and throwing some balls around and taking a video just to let people know you're still around is one thing. Auditioning for a job is something else completely. And just like you said, I mean, a number of years has gone by now. If he really, really wanted to play football, I want to play football. I know I can still play and I want to play football. Yes, he could have gone to Canada. That is absolutely true. Also, when it seemed like there was a possibility that he would actually get a fair shake at having a workout with pro scouts there, maybe a couple of coaches or something, to see if he looked like he really was NFL ready, I don't think that was the time to be making demands like, if you take me, I want to be a starter. If you really just want to play football, then you'll show your wares. You'll hopefully get picked up by a team, and then you'll compete for a job, just like everybody else. So it did kind of bring into question whether or not he really, really wanted to play, as opposed to just wanted to prove something to someone or to the masses.
Yeah, that was the question. And, or was he, and again, as a Niner fan, my beloved Niners, okay, I mean, when he was playing, I had a nickname for him and everything. He was CK and the Capper Kids. I mean, they were young. They were doing things, man, going to championships, and and really just a dynamic squad. And then when he made the move to activism, I always tell people he reminded me of me as I moved into those concepts as a high schooler. When I joined the Black Student Union, those types of things, and all that. I mean, I went through the whole thing, growing out the bush and, wearing but the difference was I was in high school and, he was beyond college,
Yeah.
And he wants to wear the Che Guevara shirts or whatever. That's fine. I think it was the F the pigs that got him in a little bit of trouble when he had that on his socks. That didn't help, and that kind of set the stage for people to take a negative, bent on whatever he did. But the Niners never stopped him from doing any of that. He was never disciplined. And I always gave Chip Kelly credit for backing him, because I tell people all the time, I watched Chip Kelly in a after game thing, press conference. The press was all there, and they were just peppering him with questions about Kaepernick, with the whole kneeling and that whole bit. And they're like, don't you think that this is a distraction? And he said, he has not been a distraction to this team. He said, and what's happening to Black men in America is egregious. Chip Kelly said that. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's when I said, okay, well, he's going to lose most of his games, but I'm not going to get mad at this point, because, I was just like, wow, he really backed them. So then all of a sudden he's like, I don't want to play with the Niners. I want to go someplace else. And, he wanted to go out on the open market. And I'm saying to myself, dude, has nobody told you that the NFL is like run by like conservative Republicans and they're getting a lot of flack for everything that you did? So you probably are then probably not looking for you. So why wouldn't you want to just stay with the Niners and continue, to build toward a Super Bowl? To me, that's home. That's where they back you up. That's where they let you do all the things that you wanted to do relative to your activism. And you got that I know of, no flack. Now, I'm not sure if someone took him to the side and said, hey, can you moderate or whatever, but they even did that relative to him, kneeling as opposed to sitting or whatever else he did, where he talked to a guy who was, a serious military person who suggested that would be the most respectful way, during the national anthem to kneel. And that's what he did. So it didn't make a difference to those who wanted to hate on him. And there's still a lot of those who want to hate on him. But to be out of football, to come back, and then to try to set your own situation relative to your tryouts, and Jay-Z was involved with setting this all up. So you had a lot of people that was really behind this in your favor. And it was like, it's when it was time to walk through the door, you decided not to. You decided to do something else. And as Stephen A. said, that's when he said, okay, he's done, because everyone was ready to give him that chance. And for whatever reason, he didn't want to do it. Something about contract language and all of that kind of stuff. But let's face it, it was an opportunity, I believe, missed. So I'll leave it at that. Any more words on that one?
No, sir.
All right, then. All right, Benny. Next up, we're going to talk about Aaron freaking Rodgers. I have pictures of the top 4 contracts. So when we start to talk about franchise tagging a quarterback with these contracts that I'm looking at now, and it's an average of the top 5, holy mackerel. It's like, franchise me, please. Would you? But it was funny listening to the guys as they reported on it, because they were like, we've got the information on the contract. We don't understand what's going on. So I'm calling my experts and they're trying to figure out. So this contract apparently was very complicated, but it added up to about $50 million a year over 3 years. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I believe what they did was it's not a new contract. It's a glorified extension. So it includes the season coming up and or last season. But the bottom line is all the new money is for actually 2 years and not for 3. They're including this past season. So I think they gave him a little bit more money than he made for last season, plus 2 more years to come up with that total.
Apparently, in the wizardry of their managing this contract relative to cap space, they wound up with more cap space.
Yes, they did. But their problem now is, how do we pay Davante Adams? And if I remember correctly, just maybe a couple of hours ago, I saw a report that they offered him $23 million a year and he turned it down.
So what I'm understanding is that the signing of the wide receiver, the former Cardinals wide receiver,
bro, that blew the whole thing out of the water. Christian Kirk,
that's right. Christian Kirk. What did Christian Kirk get per year?
I don't remember exactly, but I could probably find it. The thing is, Christian Kirk wasn't even a number 1 receiver on his own team. Okay. So to go to, where'd he go? Jacksonville, right? They did not need to throw the whole kitchen sink at him. My goodness, that he is without question, being overpaid. I'm not mad at him. They made him the offer. He took it. I have no problem with that as far as he's concerned. I don't know what the Jaguars were thinking, but they have just upended the entire wide receiver salary scale. So now I could probably rattle off 15 names of receivers that are playing right now that are better than Christian Kirk by my eye test and statistically, with no question. Okay, so for him to be paid that much is kind of weird to me. And when I say weird, I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars real weird. Like, what were y'all thinking?
Let me give you this. Let me give you this, because as I asked the question, I did take a quick look here. And according to SB Nation, what they were saying is the contract isn't as crazy as it sounds. They say that the Jaguars plan to sign him to a 4-year, $72 million deal with $37 million, including a $20 million signing bonus, which turned a lot of heads, they say. But the reality is that it's basically a 2-year deal worth $37 million. This is that magic contract stuff that they do. The way the Jaguars structured the deal, as reported, although not official, is after the 2023 season, they can release Kirk and save $7 million against the cap. They will eat $10 million in dead money, but if he ends up a bust, it's a deal they can walk away from.
Okay, so essentially he'll be making roughly 16 and a half, 17 million a year. That's not egregious, but that's on the high end of the wide receiver scale.
Yeah, it is.
That's on the high end. So again, and if he had how much guaranteed?
30, what was that?
It was 30-something million, right?
Yeah, it was worth 37 million.
Okay, and he got a 20-something million signing bonus.
Yeah.
That's 50 mil right there in his pocket.
Yes, a $20 million signing bonus. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
That's, geez. I mean, I know they needed receivers, but my goodness. And you don't hear me saying, "Oh my God, you gave all that money to Christian Kirk." I'm not there, okay? But we talk about Christian Kirk. Allen Robinson is in free agency. That's one dude that's better than Christian Kirk, and he hasn't gotten picked up yet. I expect it to happen probably tonight or tomorrow, but still, this is crazy.
There are a few free agents out there that I'm surprised are still there. They're starting to, get signed. Von Miller was one, for example. We'll talk a little bit more about him. You mentioned Randy Gregory.
Yes.
And you had a chance to read the article. So you want to kind of give people an idea what the heck happened there?
Well, as far as I know, is one of two things, or possibly a little bit of both, where we had a situation where the Cowboys made him an offer, a very nice offer, one he was worth, and one that was at the same time very generous for his skills. And then the Broncos came at him because he hadn't signed it. He verbally agreed to the offer. The Broncos came with the same offer, and he decided to go with the Broncos. Now, some people are saying he looked at the situation, he looked at the money, and said, I got a better chance of winning with Denver. I see the moves Denver's making. I see the kind of players Denver has on their team. I think I'll be a good fit there. Defense is good already. Boom, I'm going to go. Also, there was a question about the wording of the contract. And I might not have this 100% correct, okay? But, You know, Randy Gregory had some off the field issues earlier in his career, more than one. The Cowboys stuck by him. They hung in there with him. They kept him on the team. They paid him nicely. So the first thing people say is, wow, how could he turn on them after they stood by him?
It sounds like what I just talked about.
Excuse me?
Sounds like what I just talked about with the Niners.
Right. But there's wording in the contract that says that if he has another misstep, they can come back and take money away from him. Okay. Denver knows his track record, but they didn't put anything like that into the contract that they offered him.
Now, from what I understand, it's not so much about them putting something in the contract. This is kind of the standard Cowboys contract, from what I understand. However, that part or whatever was left out of Dak's contract. So, but Dak so far it seems to be the only person exempt from this particular part of the contract. Yeah. Yeah.
So CD Lamb has that in his contract?
Everybody got it in their contracts. If you're a Cowboy, that's my understanding.
Okay. All right. So
Jerry Jones, general manager, man, he ain't joking.
So here's the thing. If you know you're a decent guy and you're not going to get in no trouble, and there's no guarantees, I mean, things happen. Okay. But for the most part, you do what you're supposed to do so you stay away from trouble. You never had any in college. You never had any in the pros. You're fine. Okay. Then you won't mind that being there because you don't expect them to ever have to use it. Okay. If you're a guy like Zeke, for instance, Zeke has to stay on his toes. He can't hang out at the club. He can't drink too much. He can't loiter in a parking lot where somebody can walk up and say, you suck, and goad him into a fight. He can't do that because he's already had trouble, okay? So if that's the standard contract and that's in everybody's contract, then they have to work on it accordingly. The difference here is he's an unrestricted free agent. So to him, he's like, I'm getting out from under something that was hanging over my head. That you know what I'm saying? He's like, I don't have to be a Cowboy. I don't have to have this in my contract. And when Denver came to me with basically the same amount of money, they didn't put anything like that in the contract. They said, we'll take you as is for the same money without hanging something over your head. And that's his choice. You know, if he'd rather be in Denver, then he's going to be in Denver. But I'm saying that that's a couple of things that probably went in the Broncos' favor. I'm sure the team itself had something to do with it. He looked at what they're working with, and he's like, bro, this is going to be a nice situation for me. I'm going to make this move.
Who's that new quarterback for your team again?
Yeah, right, exactly. And I don't know, am I jumping the gun? I heard Bobby Wagner's on his way.
Oh, you would be jumping the gun, but go ahead and jump that gun, man.
I'm going to jump the gun. Russell Wilson's out there working.
What?
Russell's free. Russell's free now. He's been asking the Seahawks, let me in on, trying to help get the team better, and you need to come to me. And I think I deserve the fact that, I've been around so long, I deserve the right to have some input, and they didn't want to give it to him. And the Broncos is like, go ahead. And he got Bobby Wagner.
It's funny because I remember when Peyton Manning went to the Broncos, and you probably remember me saying to you, if I was the coach, I'd be like, well, you go ahead and call the plays. You Peyton Manning. What the heck am I worried about telling you what play to call? You know what I mean? I tell you what, use your mic and your helmet to call upstairs and get whatever.
And tell them what you're going to run. Yeah, you tell them what you're going to run.
Yeah, you tell them what you're going to run, but you ask them like, okay, what do you see out there? Well, they got a 3D safety. Okay, fine. Then I want to run this. Boom. You know what I mean? Or it's obvious they got a light box. We're running this ball, So
yeah, Peyton Manning, in my estimation, is one of the best play callers of the modern era at quarterback. And we all know that hardly any quarterbacks call the majority of the game. They might call some plays, Obviously, they have the autonomy to audible and change plays, but it's usually within the concept of the first play. Okay, unless they see something really crazy that they can go after. But other than that, they're listening on the mic every play, not Peyton Manning. So yeah, that was big, but that was Peyton Manning. I don't think
that was a special situation.
Yeah, they're not going to do that for Russell Wilson. They're going to call stuff
Well,
let's face it, the system he's in now is going to be probably closer to the Green Bay system than it is to the Seattle system that he just came from. So there's going to be a learning curve a little bit, but we'll see. It looks like a good situation. Denver's really going for it. I don't blame them. Sometimes teams have a couple of bad years and you're like, oh man, when are we ever going to be good again? But in the background, those guys are stacking money, cutting the salary cap, and getting ready for moments just like this.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks who could probably call their own plays if they wanted to, and who get a chance to have some input into the personnel and what's going on with their team, there's the return of Mr. Tom Brady to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let's face it, that caused pretty much a stir right there, Benny. And from what I understand, with Russell Gage coming to the Bucks, this is something that is also an asset that's going to make them a little bit stronger. What do you think?
Russell Gage is a nice receiver. He'll basically step in into the Antonio Brown spot. They still have Mike Evans. They still have Godwin. So they'll be fine at receiver. And like I said, Russell Gage is a nice receiver, mostly possession guy, can go long on you if you let him. Had a decent season with the Jets after leaving the Falcons last season and going to the Jets. I believe he dealt with a few injuries, but all in all, I think he'll fit in pretty well there.
All right. Well, if I can remember here, the odds for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers improved dramatically as soon as he said he was coming back. And you and I had the conversation, and I posted this on Facebook. I said to you, hey, Betty, you should have bet on this one. And you were like, no way.
No way I'm betting on that. Come on.
Hey, look.
I mean, I called it.
You don't play for anybody in the NFL, and they can investigate as long as you weren't getting inside information from Tom Brady.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that.
There's no problem there. That's what they wanted to make sure. Did somebody have some inside information? Because
here's the thing:
people that put some money on the Bucks.
Because I don't really do FanDuel and all that stuff, I was unaware that the Las Vegas sports book even had this up as a bet. If I was aware of it, I probably put a couple bucks on that. I put a couple dollars on that. I was not aware of it. That's something that I would have bet, because I said when it happened, I said it won't last long. He'll be back.
All righty. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. All right, Benny, I always ask you, what's the best job in the NFL? Backup quarterback.
The best job as a player in the NFL.
As a player in the NFL.
Chase
Daniels had his contract renewed with the Chargers for about $2 million.
Okay.
And Joe Pompliano on Twitter posted, Chase Daniels has earned $40 million. He's thrown 8 touchdowns during his 13-year career. That's $5 million for each TD. He is in the Sports Business Hall of Fame along with
should
our
be.
boy Kirk Cousins, as a matter of fact.
Well, I mean, Kirk Cousins is a whole nother thing. But yeah, I mean, now you got to give the guy credit. He does enough to keep a job.
You got to do enough to keep a job. That's
Right.
true.
You can't just be some dude. You know what I mean? He's been on a couple of different teams, although he's on a really good one now, and he's backing up a top-notch quarterback now. So he's got to be on his toes, because if something happens, they're going to go to him and they're going to be like, dude, you got to keep the boat afloat. You got to keep the ship afloat. So he can't be sitting back chilling. You know what I mean? I'm backup quarterback, put an earpiece in. You know, I'll hold the handheld computer, blah, blah, blah. He's got to come to every practice. He's got to run the scout team. He's got to be at all the meetings. He has to understand all the game plans. He has to be able, as a veteran, to hold Justin Herbert's hand a little bit, help him through film session, make sure he's on top of everything he's supposed to be on top of, help him, quiz him, showing some things that he may or may not have seen, make sure he sees everything he's supposed to see on the film session, blah, 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 blah. And pat him on the back and talk to him after every series when he comes off the field during a game. So it's not a strenuous job, but it's a job. But he's making a lot of money, and he's hung around for 13 years. That's big time. That's big time.
Well, Ben, I compared him to one Kirk Cousins, who signed a $35 million contract.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins gets hit.
$35 million 1 year. Okay. Kirk Cousins has a lifetime record of 61, 62, and 2. He is under 500 for his lifetime record, and they're still paying him. Well, I guess he's not making Aaron Rodgers 50 mil, right? So it's not.
No, but remember, he just finished that insane 4-year deal that he got when he left Washington.
Exactly. That's why he's my hero. My financial hero, anyway.
So for them to throw another 35 at him for 1 more year.
Oh my goodness.
This sounds like, call me crazy. Okay. To me, this sounds like a situation where they just got a new head coach. Okay. So I'm not sure about his staff. I'm not sure who the offensive coordinator is, but I'm sure he brought in his own offensive coordinator. I think he had a talk with management, and with all the volatility, with all the quarterback situations going on, and, you know, Brady comes back and Russell goes here and this and that and the other, and they look at the quarterback class and the draft coming up. They're like, you know what? Let's take the path of least resistance. Let's keep Kirk. Let's start him on a different kind of program, a different system. We think we can fix him. We can make him better. You know, if they asked for that, then the organization probably said, okay, you got it. 1 year. Well, I mean, what are they going to do? Give him 28 million? What, you know what I mean? You already gave him a fully guaranteed 84 million already. That's 4 years, 84 million. What was that? 41 a year?
21.
21 a year? Okay. And he played out them 4 years, didn't get hurt, got him to the playoffs 1 or 2 times. I mean, it's not all his fault. The problem is they gave him all that money because they thought he was the missing link.
Yep.
And he wasn't. That's kind of their fault too.
Kinda.
What right.
They do was
get off. Okay.
Football.
That's the first time I ever heard you admit that. So get off his back.
Oh no.
What
What
you
I
see
tell
is
you,
what you get.
he's my financial hero.
Yeah, but
I've never
yeah,
complained
you're
about the
saying that
money that he
now.
gets.
Yeah,
I
you're
said
saying
that
that
they
now.
made the big mistake to give him that money.
You're saying that now.
No, I said
But
that
during
all
the
along.
season, during the season, it's all Kirk Cousins. Oh, Kirk
No, we're
Cousins.
talking
There you go,
about
Kirk Cousins.
gameplay. We're talking about mind farts. That's what I'm talking. When I talk about Kirk Cousins, I'm not talking about the money. I don't begrudge him to get the money if they dumb enough to give it to him. Go get it. That's why I say he's my financial hero. This guy has made he's made well over $100 million. I'm not even sure, because I figure what the 35 plus the 80, that's over 100. That's not even counting what 3 to 4 years of being franchise tagged in Washington. He might be pushing up a 200. Ain't one squat.
He's got a heck of an agent. And again, he was patient in Washington, did all he could do. They look at his numbers and said, his numbers aren't that great. He's like, look at the team I'm on. And they're like, yeah, that's true. Let's put you on a better team and see if you can take them over the hump. But then the team had other issues that they didn't quite address. And he was who you and me thought he was. I didn't praise. I thought maybe he would help them, and he did help them. It's not like they stunk. But yeah, I don't know what to say.
Another
All I
NFC
know is
championship. That's what they didn't see.
all I know is he's got $35 million on 1 year with a new coaching staff, and if this doesn't work, he will probably be gone next year, gone somewhere. He won't be in Minnesota.
Sanity will be back in Minnesota. All right. The other quarterback, Benny, that is making big news is one Mr. Deshaun Watson. So apparently the Falcons are really, really interested. He's got about 3 or 4 teams that have really reached out. He has, including the Cleveland Browns, which apparently has created much emotional distress for their current quarterback. He's writing dear, I love you letters to the fans in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield is like feeling a bit unloved right now, I guess. But I was saying here, as far as the Falcons were concerned, since they, Matty Ice is still there, and Deshaun Watson is probably going to is going to miss some time, even if he gets everything gets through with the civil lawsuits, and it's about 14 of them, so he's got some work there. Things are going to go, but that's not necessarily going to stop. At least they know he's not going to be unavailable in prison somewhere, so he'll be available. All of this rest of this stuff is financial, and so, but then he'll deal with penalties from the league, so he's going to miss 4 to 6 games minimum, probably, because some of the stuff he did was, I'm sure it had to go against league rules somehow. We'll find that out. But they have Matty Ice, man. So, Matty Ice is going to fill in, and then he can come in and he gets maybe a half a season or whatever time, as long as Matty Ice stays healthy and is competitive, to get a chance to get caught up on their schemes and systems and learn the playbook. And, so it seemed like the Falcons could be a good place for him.
They're obviously going to have to talk to Matt Ryan about this. If they're going to bring him in, he'll most likely have to serve some sort of a suspension, probably a number of games, somewhere around 6 to 8. Again, that will give him time to kind of learn their system and fit in with everybody and practice and what have you. I believe you're allowed to practice when you're suspended for something like this. I'm not sure. If he's not, that's actually going to slow down his progress, getting to a new team and learning a new system. The bottom line is they're going to need to talk to Matt Ryan and make sure that they do well by him. Either because I believe he has a no trade clause in his contract also.
Yeah, he
which
does.
means,
Oh,
which
you mean
means
Matty
that
Ryan? Matt
Matt
Ryan?
Ryan,
Oh,
yes,
really?
which
Okay.
means that if he said if you guys decide to bring this guy in, I know my days here are numbered. So when my number's up, if I feel like I still got some years left in me, I want to go play for somebody else. These are the teams that I would be willing to go to. And he can't pinpoint that right now because stuff is still too volatile. So, but over time, between now and whenever, if they get Deshaun, you know, he'll be able to figure that out. And I'm sure they'll do right by him. They'll let him go where he wants to go. They'll trade him to wherever for whatever, make his landing easy, because they owe it to him. They owe it to him. He's been the face of that franchise for years. So they got to do right by him. As we go through these, bro, I just got an update on something. I don't know if you know about it or not, but I'm going to let you keep going. If you don't hit it, I got a blockbuster for you.
A blockbuster, he says.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For you.
It's for me, a blockbuster
A
for
blockbuster
me.
for you.
All right. Then I'm ready. I want some blockbusters.
You want it now?
Yeah, I want it now.
The Miami Dolphins are giving former 49ers running back Raheem Mostert a 1-year, $3.125 million deal 33 minutes ago. I knew you were waiting for it. I hope it's incentive laden because 3.125, that ain't much for a guy with his track record. But, you know, he's had a couple injuries. This last one was kind of bad. Supposedly he's coming back totally healthy. Evidently, the Niners were willing to let him go. They like Elijah. They like Jeff Wilson. They like what they got. I know you were all revved up for Mostert to come back, bro, but he's out of there. Gone to Miami.
Oh, my goodness.
Miami is very quietly doing some work. They doing work too. They're loading up. They are loading up.
Yeah, I had just put some schemes together on Madden Men with Mostert, and it was like paying off big time. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I told you he tweeted when he tweeted something about, you know, coming back healthy, and I was like, you and Mitchell are going to be the best tandem in the NFL. Okay.
Yep.
What can I tell you? What can I tell you?
Per Adam Schefter.
Let's move on to something we kind of discussed a little bit before, but it came out now. ESPN has signed Buck and Aikman to be the new Monday Night Football voices. You listen a little more closely to the announcers than what I did. What do you think about this?
Oh, this is a nice crew. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I like it. They're going to do Monday night. They're doing Monday night, you said.
Monday night, yes.
And they're on ESPN.
Yes.
Which is also new. So ESPN now has the Monday night games. So that means that I don't have to listen to Chris Collinsworth anymore.
You don't like Chris Collinsworth?
I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like him, but he's not one of my favorites.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I like that crew.
I'm a big Chris Collinsworth fan. Chris Collinsworth is fine with me. You know, yeah, it's hilarious. But okay, there's something, and I have to see. I guess I want to see the chemistry between those two. That's what I want to see. You know what I mean?
I believe they work together.
What I don't see is the fun guy.
No, there's no fun guy there.
There's no fun guy.
No.
On Monday Night Football.
If you had to force some fun out of one of them, it would be Buck, not Aikman. Aikman's pretty straight laced, but I like Troy Aikman.
Okay. All right.
He's to the point. He gives it to you nice. I can't complain. I like that crew. I think they're going to do well on Monday Night Football.
All right. Ben puts a thumbs up for them. All right, Benny, let's talk some football operations. The NFL teams have proposed 2 separate overtime adjustments. Eagles and Colts have proposed that both teams be allowed at least one possession in overtime. The Titans' proposal calls for both teams to get at least one possession, unless the team that opens overtime with the ball scores a touchdown and then converts a 2-point attempt, which I thought was an interesting wrinkle there. So I guess like if you're in overtime and you score and you have to make that decision, do I go for 2 and end it now, or do I, kick the extra point and then give the ball back to them? Defense goes on the field. I have 7 points, or go for 2, don't get the 2. I still got to kick the ball off to the other team, but now I only got 6 points.
And now they can beat you with an extra point.
They can beat me with an extra point. So what do you think about that proposal?
On the surface, I like it. I mean, without giving a whole bunch of thought to it, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That gives you the opportunity to say, you know what, we scored. We don't have to we can put the game away, or we can bet on our defense. But betting on our defense from the standpoint of a clear kickoff, okay, and not have to worry about not seeing the ball because we already did and we did what we were supposed to do. As opposed to, you lose the coin toss and who knows. So yeah, I kind of like that. I like that.
You know who I thought about? The Chargers. Because if it's one team that's going to go for it on either 4th down or for 2-point conversion, it's the Chargers. I was cracking up one day. I'm playing the Chargers in Madden, and they went for 2 in like a real unlikely situation in the game. And I'm like, well, you guys are really doing some programming here. You're really doing some programming, because that was much like what the Chargers would be doing, because they will go for it on 4th down and go for 2. So, it'd be interesting. You could pretty much almost bet in overtime situations, if the Chargers score, they're probably going to go for 2. So.
And the Ravens.
And maybe the Steelers. The Steelers are going for 2 a lot also. So all 3 of those teams rather were putting up a lot of points. All right. So much going on, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a little bit, because this is National Women's Month, I believe.
Yes.
And we really hadn't done much relative to women. So I wanted to take a chance and do that. Now, the lady chosen here is one Miss Jennifer King. Jennifer King is the NFL's first Black female assistant coach. Now, I learned a lot in taking a look at Miss King, and I'm gonna hit this YouTube, see if we can pull her up on YouTube real quick, because we're gonna go back and look at some other stuff. Can you see this?
To be the first Black woman to become a full-time NFL coach.
It means a lot. It's exciting to be a part of it, the historical moment, but I think it's something I really appreciate maybe later on down the road.
Weeks after her promotion to a full-time assistant NFL coach, a humble Jennifer King is just beginning to understand the magnitude of her place in history as a trailblazer.
I really think of people other than myself. There's so many great people come to mind when you think of that. The Billie Jean Kings of the world and, Kamala Harrises of the world have done just these amazing things and trailblazing for women. So, some people have said that about me, which is fine, but I'm definitely not calling myself that right now.
King is no stranger to high-level competitive sports. She played and coached women's college basketball. She also played women's pro football.
Look at her go.
Jennifer Keenan told you she has motor.
Nice try.
Motoring all the way to the end zone.
What made you want to coach football in the NFL?
And I've been coaching football for a long time. It's not something that just happened over the past few years. So it was at lower levels, obviously, but once I saw, a few women getting opportunities at the NFL, it really piqued my interest.
The first woman to become an NFL coach was hired 5 years ago. There are now more than a half dozen women who are full-time assistant coaches. King got her break in the league from head coach Ron Rivera when he was with the Panthers.
Jennifer King came to me as a volunteer, somebody that wanted to be around and do this for free just to get the experience. And the more responsibility I gave her, I saw her take the bull by the horns at each step and each level.
What sort of reaction did you get from the players?
The guys were great. Everywhere I've been, I've had great relationships with the guys, and it was no different in Carolina when I first got started. They thought it was, exciting to see. Many of them were familiar with the women's tackle football league, and I think you quickly realize if you can help them in any way and make them better, gender doesn't matter to them.
King knows being the first Black woman full-time NFL coach comes with responsibilities beyond the gridiron.
The little girls are interested in football and maybe want to play or coach now just because of that. So that's a big deal, to be that representation for them. It's big. I spoke about kind of being a representation that I didn't have. And, it helps a lot when you see someone that looks like you're doing something that you would like to do. I think I speak for a lot of the women that work in the NFL and on the coaching side now that, we take it very seriously, that we're kind of that representation now. And, we're really focused on doing a great job so that next generation maybe can have an easier path as some of us did.
All right. Now, what I learned in addition to learning about her is, let me get back to the information here. And I put some information about her in the comments section. So you can go there and find out some information. What I wanted to share here, Benny, was that, in the show, they said that she came and volunteered, right?
All right.
But when I looked at Miss King and what she did, I wanted to share this for anyone who, who's thinking about doing what she did. You'll see here, she has a career history as a player and as a coach, okay? So when she was in college, she was a high-level basketball player. I mean, high-level basketball player. And she went on, she has a degree in sports management. She went on to coach women's basketball, to coach basketball, and she has a USCAA Division II national championship to her credit. But what I also wanted to show was that the entire time that she was coaching, she was also playing. So if you look here, as a player, she was with the Carolina Phoenix, she was with the New York Sharks and the DC Divas, going back to 2006, right? All the way through 2019. She was coaching in 2018 and in 2019. She coached with the Hot Shots, the Carolina Panthers, Dartmouth, the Washington football team in 2020. So she was literally working a full-time job, kind of like the guys in your league, right? Working a full-time job and playing in the pro leagues simultaneously. So this woman, I mean, she has put the time in, double time. And one of the things that I saw that I thought was very interesting, in addition to her career in sports, she also worked part-time as a flight attendant for Delta Airlines and a police officer in North Carolina.
Oh my God. Now you're doing too much.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do to survive. And apparently she You know, she willing to do what it takes. I mean, it's kind of hard to go to a team and say, I will volunteer.
Here's the
Somewhere in there, I
thing.
saw that she actually won a grant. So she
Yeah,
might have had some grant money and some things of that nature helping her out. But this is a woman who put in the work. She
Well-
got the education. She put in the work on a part-time, small time, whatever time needed basis, in addition to playing the game. And she's, you know, obviously just an all-around athlete. So I just wanted to take some time out to give her her kudos for National Women's Month. Jennifer King, first Black female assistant coach in the NFL.
right. Obviously, she had some goals set. And more important than the money, because she wasn't making much money. First of all, when you're coaching on those kind of levels, there's not a whole lot of money for you to make. Hence, she had to work the other jobs, you know, the regular jobs, being a cop and this, that, and the other. Okay. Playing and coaching at the same time allowed her to enjoy her passion for playing the game and still make whatever small amounts of money. But the more important thing was she was accumulating experience. Okay. So then once you've accumulated all that experience, and she's got plenty, you get an opportunity to get your foot in the door into the NFL. Yeah, I'll work for free. Absolutely. Here's my resume. You think enough of me that you'll let me come in here and work for you. I'm going to show you all of my accomplishments, all of my experience, okay? And then you do with it what you will. But she got her foot in the door. I don't blame her for saying, yes, I'll volunteer, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll splice film. You know what I mean? I'll get balls. I'll do whatever you ask. Because once you get your foot in the door into the NFL, oh my goodness, you know?
Well, let me give an example to, oh my goodness, because as you can see here, for a D2 assistant coach, ZipRecruiter shows that there's a range from $16,500 to $66,500 with an average of about $38,000 a year. So those are what D2 assistant coaches are making according to ZipRecruiter. Now, once I took a look at the next step, well, then how much does an NFL assistant coach makes? Well, according to Yahoo Finance, assistant coaches working in the NFL are typically paid an average of $400,000 per season as of February 2nd, 2020. Assistant coaches' salaries increased dramatically in the last few years. In 2017, the average salary was between $150,000 and $175,000. So that's a big jump. Career Trend reports that assistant coaches in the NFL are paid the most by the Dallas NFL organizations, and the least, I believe, was by the Jaguars here. So I'll skip through the rest of it. But anywhere from, you know, just under $200,000 to $400,000 for assistant coaches is a nice piece of money to be making from where, you know, you came from coaching in the D2 and playing and, you know, doing what you needed to get by. So I kind of included that because anyone who, you know, talking to their kids, talking to their daughters or their sons or whoever, you know, and they want to go into sports management, I always tell them, do some research so you know, where you're going, what to expect, you know, and if the ongoing salary is in the $400,000 range, not a bad goal to go for.
Not at all, considering the top end of a D2 assistant was in the 60s.
Yeah.
So, and she probably never even hit the top end, I would bet, because she moved around a lot. So, you know, that would take a number of years to get yourself in a position to hit the top end of that pay scale. So this is a big jump for her, but obviously she's earned her way. She's put in the work. She's probably been very impressive everywhere she's been. Got plenty of letters of recommendation, I'm sure. and she's there now.
She's in. I'm telling you, and congratulations, man. I mean, and again, now that they have their own sports leagues, they have actual experience. So it's not like, you can say, well, you've never picked up a ball and ran it. You never thrown a pass. You can't say that.
You can't say that. Cannot
say that. These ladies are doing it right now. And it's amazing because to have someone on the other side, the female side, have that love of football, it's just an amazing thing, and it just shows you how great the sport is. So wanted to mention that. All right. Let's my other whipping boy, Ben, when it comes to the stat that I like to track, which is mind farts, especially at critical times, is one Mitch Trubisky, who just got signed by the Steelers of all teams. And the Super Bowl odds got worse for the Steelers going.
That doesn't even make any sense.
It
doesn't
you
make
don't think
any
that
sense.
makes sense?
No. So their Super Bowl odds were better with Mason Rudolph. Stop it. Stop it.
That with Mitch Trubisky. I just thought that was hilarious.
I think they're going to be surprised. I think Mitchell Trubisky is going to do well there. I'm not saying he's going to blow the roof off. I'm not saying he's going to take them deep into the playoffs. All I'm saying is Mitchell Trubisky is a viable NFL quarterback who had a lot of things going against him in Chicago. He wasn't the best player I think that he could be. I believe that his short time in Buffalo, he gained a lot of knowledge there. I'm surprised they didn't bring him over from Buffalo. Oh, I'm sorry. When the Buffalo offensive coordinator became the New York Giants head coach, they did, and the GM was the assistant GM with Buffalo. He is now the GM for the Giants. They did try to get Trubisky to New York. They did. Steelers gave him a better deal. So,
okay.
So, I think this time around, and I don't think they're going to let him just step in as the starter. I think he'll have to compete. But it's Mason Rudolph, man. There's a few guys in the NFL that I really don't care for, and he's one of them. All right. First of all, I think he's not good at all. And I think Trubisky should have no problem getting that starting job. And being in a new atmosphere works for some guys, and I think this may work for Mr. Trubisky.
Well, I don't hate on Mr. Trubisky. I hope he does well. I hope he goes into, Pittsburgh and works with that coaching staff. He has to not make those mistakes in critical times. And if he can avoid that, he should be okay. But that goes for everybody.
Yeah, I was about to say that's everybody. It's just that, and like I said, he had such a great number of them when he was with Chicago because, again, he had a lot of stuff going against him. Offensive line, running game was shabby. Defense wasn't necessarily on top of their game. He had a lot of stuff going bad for him. There's any number of quarterbacks who had better seasons than he had there the first couple seasons he was there. Also, you got to remember he was a first-round pick. He was an early pick. There was a lot expected of him. That sometimes the first time around doesn't always work for some guys, but they come back. I expect he'll come back. I think he can play.
All right. Let me run a few signings by you before we get ready to move on and close this session out. All right. So it seems as if Boston Scott is hitting the free agency market. The Eagles are letting him go.
Thought you were going to have something interesting. Boston Scott. That's all you got for me? Boston Scott? Bro.
You know, the funny thing about Boston Scott is when our boy Corey Clement was with the Eagles seemed like they wanted to run him more than Corey. Even in situations,
It seemed like they
they were
did.
in a goal, they were at their own goal line and they were handing it off to Boston Scott. And I'm like, what the heck are y'all doing? I thought he was more like a Darren Sproles guy, you know, and that was his.
He's a poor man's Darren Sproles. He had his moments as an Eagle. He had his moments. I remember him winning a game with a great catch in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah, I remember that.
He had his moments, okay? But letting him go, I don't think that's major. So where's he? Has he signed with anybody yet?
Nah, they just let him go. He's gonna be a free agent.
Okay. He'll turn up somewhere.
Cardinals are giving running back James Conner 3 years, $21 million.
That's big. That's big. And I put a comment on our Facebook page. You had made a note about if he can stay healthy.
Right.
Here's the positive side. Again, just like when we were talking about Trubisky, when you say, and you're talking about a running back, when you say if he can stay healthy, that goes for everybody too. Derrick Henry got hurt last year.
Yeah.
Okay. So that goes for everybody. What's impressive about Conner is he split time with Chase Edmonds. First of all, he was injured the year before. A lot of times coming off of an injury, especially a leg injury, running backs take at least a whole season to kind of get their act together. And in the second season, they start to look like them old self, their old selves, like Barkley with the Giants.
Right.
I believe that this season coming up, he'll look completely different from this past season, far better. I believe that, not just because I'm a Giants fan. I've kind of seen this. It happened with AJ Green, being a receiver, okay, where your legs are oh so important to you, okay? He's with the Bengals. He gets hurt. He's off a year. He comes back. That first year, they're like, AJ, what happened to you? But it was like he was feeling his way. They gave up on him. They went young. I'm not mad at him. He goes to the Cardinals, starts slow. But when Hopkins went down, AJ Green stepped up, you know? So that, but he had that whole year under his belt of getting over the mental part of having a serious injury. I believe the fact that James Conner came off an injury and played that well that soon is a big plus. I think he finished with 700 something yards rushing on only like 200 something carries, which isn't a lot. He did split time with Chase Edmonds. The most impressive thing was he scored 15 touchdowns.
We remarked about him being the goal line guy during the season a number of times.
Yes. That made him a more than viable fantasy player.
Oh yeah,
Because
I can imagine.
he
Yeah.
may not have had a whole bunch of 100-yard rushing games, but he scored a touchdown, 2 touchdowns in almost every game.
Yeah.
That's big. So he earned that money. Not only did he earn that money, but they let Chase Edmonds go. And if I'm not mistaken, he went to Miami too. Miami is working. Miami has Chase Edmonds and Mostert.
That's speed on speed right there.
Oh, bro.
Does Tua have enough arm?
Tua. Well, all you gotta do is dump it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yo, I'm telling you, some of these, this is a really, I swear, every year I know somewhere along the line, we're doing one of these shows and we're saying, man, this year is super interesting. Man, there's so much happening this year. This is the one of the most, and here we go again. Okay. I don't remember free agency being like this last year. I really don't. We would have to maybe you can go back, dig back and look at some of the old shows. I don't remember it being this interesting. There's so many really good players that are moving and going to teams that you can tell this guy's going to be a difference maker over here. This guy is exactly what they needed. This team is loading up. They're tired of being at the bottom of their division. They're going to make a push, you know? AFC East, you got the Patriots. Patriots been beating up on the Jets and the Dolphins for a long time. And now here comes Buffalo. They're like, enough. We got to get ourselves back into contention a little bit. We got to make some kind of noise. And the Jets are quietly working too, but Miami's making serious moves.
Did you say Buffalo?
Yes.
Because Buffalo signed O.J. Howard.
Yes.
So they got another tight end.
On top of Dawson Knox.
And Von Miller.
Yes.
So the Bills ain't joking either.
People are going bananas on Facebook about Von Miller. Evidently they get, I don't know his numbers. They gave him a lot of money for a good number of years.
He got 6 years, 120 million.
Yeah, he ain't gonna play 6 more years.
I thought he was going to get maybe a 1 year contract or something like that. Like everybody's going to give him a little. You know.
I was thinking maybe a 2 year, because they pretty much know what they're going to get at him in this season. And if he plays really well, they'll be glad to have him back another season, because their Super Bowl window is like pretty wide open right now. They're going to make their move. But this dude's not a full-time player anymore. I hope everybody understands that. He's a part-time player. He's a situational pass rusher. So in that respect, he could play
a few more years,
A few more years, maybe 3. But I don't think he'll play 6 years. I don't see that.
All right, let me throw another name out. Zadarius Smith going to the Ravens, 4 years, 35 million.
Oh, God. So the Ravens are making major moves too. They just grabbed the safety away from the Raiders.
Yeah.
The Raiders? Yeah. But all their moves are on defense. Bro, they are loading up. They are loading up. The Ravens are loading up. Oh God. Trubisky. He has to play the Ravens twice.
They got to play them twice.
They are loading up. This might not be as smooth a transition as I thought for old Mitch. The Ravens are loading up big time, man. Darius Smith is a guy that I was like, please, God, please let the Giants somehow find money to play him. Please. I kind of knew it wasn't going to happen, though. Ravens snatched him up, man. Oh, my God. Their secondary. Oh, Lord. Oh.
All right. Tennessee Titans released Julio.
Okay, I'm not surprised at that one at all.
No.
Julio's kind of on his last leg. Julio can do enough in the offseason to get himself in shape to start a season, but he can never finish a season. He'll either get hurt in the beginning and show back up in the middle and maybe make it to the end, or he'll make it to the middle and get hurt and won't be there for the end, and then they'll hope they have him back for the playoffs, just like what just happened in the past season. Okay? His best bet, go back to Atlanta.
Really?
What receivers does Atlanta have?
Cordero.
No, he's gone.
Oh, he's gone too.
He's gone too.
Oh my goodness.
Ridley's on suspension, right? Gage went to Tampa Bay. That's the 2 starters. They're gone. All they got left is the rookie tight end, the young boy from Philly.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
They got nothing. Julio can go back to Atlanta, finish up there, Hall of Fame career. Yay.
Do they have draft picks? Because there's plenty of speed coming out in the draft.
I don't know. And I'm sure they'll grab somebody, but they're walking on eggshells right now because they got to get this Deshaun deal done.
What do you think about Chandler Jones going to the Raiders?
I think Chandler Jones to the Raiders will help the Raiders. I don't know how much it will help them. They also re-signed their other pass rusher who's really good. Max Crosby, I want to say his name is. They let the other guy go.
Right.
Nassib, they let Nassib go. But they signed Crosby to a big contract. He's a beast. He's a beast. So pairing him up with Chandler Jones is definitely going to make their pass rush formidable. No doubt about that. I thought maybe he would go to a team that was a bit more of a contender, but that's a coup for the Raiders because, again, excuse me, we're talking about the AFC West. If you don't have a pass rush, you're going to get ripped to shreds.
Yeah, that's for true. No doubt about that.
Herbert, Mahomes, and Wilson are going to rip you to shreds. You got to have a pass rush.
Well, okay. All right. Well, as much as we had going on this week, we're pretty much wrapped up for today. So do you have any final words?
Go Knowles.
Oh, you're back. He is back.